story started on January 22nd, 1970. I was 11 years old, and I was my dad's pride and joy. We used to hang out all the time until he had his little daughter, 11 years after me. My dad and I used to hang around all the time. We played ball out in the backyard. We played frisbee at the beach, at the cottage, everywhere. Played horseshoes. I'd watch him Saturdays playing ping pong with his buddy downstairs for hours. I idolized everything he did. It was really cool. My mom would bring lunch down. We'd sit and have lunch and have a great time having lunch together, and I'd watch him play ping pong again until dinner time. And then, you know, it was just all those great moments. You know, laying in the back seat of the cars, we're driving around. He had a buddy that had a garage, and we'd always go over to his garage. And I think my dad, he would hope that something would go wrong with his car, just so he could take it over there and putz around with his car. So we were great friends. We were great buddies, and then my little sister came along. What happened to Mike? Well, let's put it this way. I think the reality was grade 12 graduation. My mom showed up at St. Jerome's. Oh, nobody from St. Jerome's? Yes. Oh yeah, way to go, thanks. My mom showed up at graduation, grade 12, to make breakfast for all the grads. She was one of the grad moms making breakfast. And when she got there, she came home. After she came home, she says, "Where were you today?" And I said, "What do you mean, where was I?" She goes, "It was graduation breakfast. Where were you?" "I was there making breakfast." I said, "Where have you been the last 4 years?" "I'm not graduating. I mean, I don't got enough credits. I'm still in grade 10 English, Mom. I haven't read Man in La Mancha yet." If anybody's read Shakespeare, that book sucked. But anyway, they had no idea. They spent all their time now with the little daughter that my dad cherished so much, and the little son that used to be, you know, hanging around with his dad was no longer hanging around with his dad, and they missed 4 years. Mind you, no, I'm still in high school. Actually, I never did finish. But that was one of those moments where they didn't even realize what had happened. They lost 4 years. And I look at that time now, and I cherish the time that I had with my daughters. I mean, I coached junior hockey for 15 years, but I tried every moment to be with my girls. One was a gymnast, and one was a figure skater, and tried to be involved in everything they did. And I remember my daughter then, after gymnastics, wanted to be an actor. And I remember standing outside in the cold, watching her in front of the camera for hours on end, and only to see the clip on the movie of Degrassi. And I think I got more camera time, didn't I? Standing on a garbage can watching her. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's her time, not mine. But it was one of those things where I spent as much time as I could with her. And I think that's so important. We stopped listening to what our teens really want and started telling them what they should be doing. Here's where you should go. Here's what you should do. Here's what you should be. Let's start listening to them again. Let's let the creativity come out of those kids, and we as parents listen to them and understand that they've got so much to offer. There's so much there for them to do right now in this society that we've got, and we're holding them back. So it was kind of cool watching both my daughters end up being entrepreneurs with their own businesses. It was really cool. It was really cool. And then April 2017, my dad passed away. 88 years old. Sharp as a knife. Man, he was sharp. Even though his mom passed away, 95 years old or something, 20 years of Alzheimer's, and his sister was the same way. So, but he was sharp. He knew everything. I mean, he winked at every friggin' nurse that came in that room. Every day he'd wink at them. He was still, and he couldn't wait for the sponge bath. Anyway, but that was my dad. He couldn't wait. I mean, it was just one of those things where he was just, that's who he was, and he was sharp as can be, but his body was quitting. It was starting to shut down. And it was at that time when I got to spend some time with my dad again. And I spent every morning in the hospital for 3 months, hanging out with him, having breakfast with him. It was my time to have breakfast with my dad and hang out with my dad. And it was really a cool time because I knew my mom was coming up later on, and I was the only one being self-employed. I could find time. So I made time every morning having breakfast with him. And it was, every morning I'd reach down, I'd give him a hug and a kiss on the cheek and say, "Dad, I love you," and off I'd go. And I'll never forget, it was in April then, I was on my way up north on a business trip for 3 days. And it was that time I said, "Dad, like, I'm gonna be gone up to Timmins for a few days. Love to, just hang tight, I'll be back, we'll have breakfast on Friday." And it was at that moment, he sat up and hugged me and kissed me and said, "I love you." And that's the first time I remember my dad ever hugging me or kissing me. It was always a handshake. And I realized then that it was that opportunity that he missed as I was a kid to give me that hug and that kiss, but he made sure he made up for it. And I'll never forget that day when he hugged me and kissed me and said, I love you. The next day I got the phone call, like I say, he had passed away. And I flew back, and my lovely wife, Vicky, sitting over here, she sat with him the whole time. As they didn't want to take him downstairs, so they decided to leave him in the room until I came back. The head nurse said, no, his son's coming back. You make sure you leave him here. He's not going anywhere. When I came back, Vicky was laying there with her hands on his chest with him. And son of a bitch had one eye shut. He winked at my mom when he said goodbye. And that's how he passed away. But it's the things that tonight, my little story is to tell you about. Spend time with your kids. Don't get so hung up on your careers and the life that you want. You're going to miss a whole lot of wonderful times with your kids. And they are some great kids. And there's such great times out there right now. So when you sit down at the dinner table, put the phones away and everything else and spend some time, break some bread, and just have a great conversation. We have some wonderful kids in this society right now, and we just got to listen better and take care of them and love them. So on that note, I want you to look at the person that you said, thanks for being here. I'm glad you're here. Look them in the eye and say, you're awesome, and give them a hug. Gord, where's my hug? Thank you.